Welcome, everybody, to the special 4th of July edition of the Good Dumb Fun Show.
1776, baby, freedom.
Yeah, episode 1776. How are you?
I'm doing good. Oh, get up. Get up right now. Oh, we got to salute the flag. Salute the flag. Corn dogs. Say something. You're being disrespectful.
What do you want me to say?
Something about America,
dude. Rednecks.
Trucks.
Big tires.
Shirts that are too tight.
Hats with flags on them.
Second Amendment.
First Amendment.
Oh, all right. God bless America, dude.
What are we doing?
What are we doing, dude? Oh, I got to make sure my mic is still attached after that. I kind of stepped all over myself.
Scared me.
I love to be an American, dude.
I didn't hear the trumpets or whatever.
Oh, dude. Man, just, the national anthem calls from the heart.
You know what I was thinking about?
What were you thinking about?
If tomorrow all the things were gone that I worked for all my life and I had to start again with just my children and my wife,
yeah,
I would thank my lucky stars to be living here today. And that's as far as I'm going to go because I can't remember all the words. But Ripley Greenwood, I think he's dead. If he's not, I hope he's watching.
Oh, yeah. So this is a special episode. We are talking about nothing but freedom today.
Let freedom ring. Should we get into it?
Yeah, dude. Let's get into it. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think it's only appropriate that we hit the mailbag.
Okay.
Because I think that's what George Washington would want.
Are we dropping people's names? I forgot to ask you.
This will be the first time in Good Dumb Fun Show history that we will be reading mail from real people with real names and real comments. So
should we use their initials or something?
No, I'll say their names.
We're dropping their names. What are they?
They're the ones that commented.
Well, did all of them comment on?
They all did.
On the actual.
They did.
Well,
yeah, we'll get into it. So,
okay.
Michelle Johnston.
Nice.
I just finished listening to y'all's podcast while I was at work, and you both crack me up.
That's what it's all about, dude.
Yeah, well, it gets better. Skip Talmadge. You guys are not funny. I know that for a fact. I didn't laugh at either of you guys when we worked together. I was the glue that held us together. I am hurt.
That's a bunch of fake news.
That sounds like
he for sure laughed.
That sounds like a hurt person.
Yeah.
Hurt people, Skip.
Yeah,
seek help. We love you, Skip. And Skip, I believe, we'd love to have him on the show at one point.
Hey, listen, dude. Clear your schedule out, dude. Look at this. I mean, the production value alone.
Yeah. Hide your kids. Hide your wife. Skip Talmadge will be on the Good Dumb Fun Show one day. We'll make it happen. Sterling McMichael, I 100% agree with your tortilla take. I mentioned in episode 0, everything's better in a tortilla.
It's a good take.
That is why I say tacos are my favorite food. You can put anything in a tortilla and call it a taco. Thank you, Sterling, for your support.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. It's true.
Rob Sellers, a brownie is not better wrapped in a tortilla.
I'm going to disagree, and here's why.
Yeah.
You can find a million recipes on the internet for any given sweet thing in a tortilla.
That's true. There's also recipes where the tortilla is the main ingredient, and you sprinkle it with butter and cinnamon and sugar and fry it up, and it's like a churro.
All right, hear me out.
Also, Rob, I would argue that no one's been brave enough to try a brownie wrapped in a tortilla. So why don't you do some research and get back to us with your findings?
I just came up with this off the cuff on the top of my head. You ready? 3 brownies evenly distributed on a tortilla. All right. Hit with some honey. All right.
I'm following you.
Some powdered sugar. Roll that up. Dip that in a cinnamon toast crunch coating, like a liquid, like a milk-based kind of thing. Throw that in a skillet, dude. Brother.
God bless America.
That is what this country was founded on, dude.
The
it was stuff
official
like that.
Dessert of the Good Dumb Fun Show.
I'm going to make that literally when we get home.
Bring it on the next recording. I'd love to try that. Well, I think that leads us perfectly into what we're talking about today, which is the wonderful country we live in, the United States of America. And I believe our founding fathers had that dessert in mind when they decided to declare war on Britain.
It definitely wasn't the taxes.
Yeah.
Or all the other horrible atrocities that were committed.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about what happened, shall we?
Yeah.
Just a brief history, recap, as you will, of the American Revolution. If you don't mind, I've got I got a quick overview I can share with everybody, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the mid-1700s, there were 13 British colonies here in what would be the eastern United States on the Atlantic side. While they were under British rule, they had developed distinct identities and local governments. And then as a result of the French and Indian War that was going on around that time, Britain was in a massive debt and began taxing the colonies more aggressively. We don't like that.
Hate that.
So after the Stamp Act and the Tea Act and some others, the colonists had enough. No taxation without representation. That's where that comes from. Why pay taxes to a government that had no elected representatives that they could call on? So in 1773, the protest known as the Boston Tea Party took place. The British began heavily policing the colonies for various reasons, but the colonists, understandably, felt as though Britain was trying to put them under their thumb,
No tyrants.
Yeah. No tyranny. Finally, in 1775, tensions boiled over, and we had the shot heard round the world, is what they called it, which marked the official start of the Revolutionary War. Good luck, boys. We all know how this ended. Meanwhile, the acting Congress formed the Continental Army and named George Washington as commander. On July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was created and the colonies officially broke off from Britain.
God bless America.
By 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognized the United States of America as an independent nation.
Less than 10 years, baby.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
We get it done.
We're here. We're not waiting, dude.
We're here about business.
We're here to take care of business and be free while we're doing it.
Yeah. So the keys to success, if you're going to start a revolutionary war, here's some things you should keep in mind, because they really you can Google it. Not every revolutionary war works out.
We're revolution experts, dude.
Yeah. So the
Two
reasons,
God-loving, American-loving patriots.
Some of the main reasons, some of the keys to success that the American Revolution had was geography. Think of the logistical nightmare of being Britain during that time.
Oh, yeah.
In the 1700s. You know how long it took to get here?
Oh, yeah.
Me neither. I should have looked that up. But it took a while to get here, probably a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
So,
probably longer than that.
The king finds out in the mail that the colonies have started a revolution, and then it probably takes, 2 or 3 weeks to even get over here?
It probably takes longer than that.
Yeah.
Back then,
whatever
those ships,
was.
I don't know. It could be months.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, and that's just, someone's going to hear that and just be like, wow, these guys really don't know anything.
But listen, we know what freedom is.
And this is what freedom looks like.
This is what freedom looks like, dude. Yeah, exactly.
For those of you listening, we look ridiculous.
And we have the freedom to not know facts.
That's right. That's right. Fact checkers beware, because we don't have one. Anyway, logistically, it was very difficult for Britain to fight this war, and a lot easier for the rebels to resist and regroup. And, we had the benefit of being really far away. There was a lot of time for us to kind of game plan.
Yeah.
Unified vision. We had a common enemy, Britain, and common goals, freedom, and other things that we've talked about. Strong leadership. Could you name a few of the revolutionary leaders?
George Washington.
The man.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Who else? He's the one that matters.
James Delaware.
I don't know who that is. Let me give you a couple. So there was George Washington.
Yeah.
There was Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, yep.
There was Benjamin Franklin.
Yep.
Paul
Revere.
He was there as well. He got in some trouble. I don't know if you realize that his the British are coming. The British are coming. He ended up getting arrested.
Oh.
So
well,
hope he's okay.
Yeah.
But
rest in peace to that guy.
Leadership like that, the 95 Bulls wouldn't know what hit them. Do you have any information to add to our Revolutionary War talk before we get into fun facts and stuff?
So, About just the
did I miss anything?
No, you covered it beautifully.
Okay, well,
I think the only thing you forgot was the rocket's red glare and the bombs bursting in the air.
That's a good point.
But other than that, you nailed it. Hit it on the head.
I left that part out. I think a lot of us listening probably knew a lot of that or heard a lot of that or remembered it from grade school. I did find out from episode 0 we do have an international audience. So
really?
Yeah, we had a small subsection of our listener group apparently hails from Germany.
What?
Yeah. So
do you know off the top of your head what percent that was?
Was
it like one person?
It was probably one person. Yeah. Like when you look
I don't know how we got to you, but
yeah.
Hats off to
Thanks
you.
for tuning in. Guten Tag. I hope that was that German?
I think so.
Okay, Guten Tag.
Yeah.
Hallo. Anyway, so now that we're all on the same page, I've been doing a lot of talking. Why don't you kick us off on fun facts about the revolution?
Okay, fun facts about the revolution.
Or so, whatever you got.
There was a lot of just horrible battles. And, of course, listen, we're two freedom-loving Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So rightfully, we stomped a lot of tail. Like, we whooped a lot of butt in the days. But you know what we don't like to talk about? We don't like to talk about our losses,
What did
or
we
our
lose?
narrow escapes.
Okay.
That led to victory.
Okay.
Because we sometimes, in our freedom class, I don't know if you took that class in high school, it was like third period or something. Freedom class.
I think I had government.
Same thing. If you had a good teacher, it was freedom class.
That's true. That's true.
But when we are talking about history, history is often written by the victors, and of course, we did win.
Right.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy. But even in our seeming defeats, we still inspired fear, awe, trembling even. Those redcoats, dude, were shaken in their knees in this story I'm about to share with you. Have you heard of the Maryland 400?
Is that the NASCAR thing that Jeff Gordon won?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That was the first. So we asked the British to race, and this was the final battle, was the Maryland 400, where we said all of you guys are going to race all of our guys, and whichever team has more members in a leading place wins their rights. And we stomped them 100-0. It was all of our American drivers were up ahead.
Well, it helps that we had NASCAR race cars.
Yeah, it does.
And they all pulled up on
that
horseback.
Commercial about that car that George Washington's driving through the field?
That is such a good commercial. We got to cut that in somehow. That is so good.
Dude. So, yeah, that's exactly. Okay. See, that commercial, that's what happened.
That's from the Maryland 400.
Exactly. That is
real
from
footage.
The Maryland 400.
See,
George Washington himself led the race.
That's inspiring.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me more about the Maryland 400.
So the Maryland 400 happens during the Battle of Long Island. So throughout this battle, the British have outnumbered and outgunned us, essentially. And so towards the end of this battle, the British had flanked around the American forces, right? So they're driving us back. They're about to stomp us. They're about to win this battle. And so in the midst of this, the Americans are retreating. And as they're retreating, they're going through all these horrible debris. They're going through, these muddy creeks and these swamplands that are kind of like marshy-ish lands, and it's really hard to navigate. And so as they're retreating, they're like, oh, we're all going to die. And General Sterling, at the time, ordered Major Mordecai Gist, or Gist, it's G-I-S-T, the boy.
I get the gist of it, yeah.
Yeah, Major G. That's what we're going to call him for this story, Major G. So Major G and the 1st Maryland Regiment got charged by General Sterling to advance and fight the British main force so that the Americans could retreat. And knowing that they were probably all going to die in a horrible bloodbath. I mean, they were outnumbered probably 5-1. Mm-hmm. The British had cannons. They had, different types of artillery work and guns and things like that. And these brave boys looked at all that and they said, "We got it, boss." And they proceeded to charge 400 of them into 2,000 British soldiers, which that may not be 1 to 5, but
either way. You know what the British didn't have?
Yeah.
The American spirit.
The American spirit, dude. And they charged in multiple times. So they would charge in and do some nasty work to the British and get beat up themselves, retreat, muster, and go back again, dude. And they kept doing that until the main forces, the main American forces, escaped.
That's
all
amazing.
of them either died or were captured. I think, and I could be wrong about this because I didn't write the stats down, I think like 10 of them got away.
Of the 400?
Of the 400.
Wow.
Like got back to the main forces. But most of them died or were captured. And as if that wasn't hard enough, like these guys are hard, dude. Like these guys are ballers. George Washington allegedly, because, you know, things with history, allegedly, he was on a hill nearby because he was part of the retreating force. And he looked upon the Maryland 400, and this is what he allegedly said. He said, "Good God, what brave fellows this day I must lose." That goes hard.
Chills, dude.
That goes hard. Yeah,
Chills.
dude, you see these goosebumps, dude?
Yeah.
On my guns. No, edit that out.
No, leave that in.
Oh. So the Maryland 400, dude, you want to talk about, like, you see all these guys that get like American tattoos on their arms and like American flags on their backs. I may get M400 put across my chest, dude.
Yeah,
goes ridiculous.
Put that quote in script font.
Yeah, dude.
Underneath it. What brave fellows.
Yeah, dude. What brave fellows.
That's amazing.
What about you? You got any fun stories or fun facts about the war?
I did find some fun facts, and I tried as hard as I could to verify them. But like you said, you know how it goes. Some of it is just straight up legend.
Yeah.
And it's just been accepted.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I believe it all wholeheartedly. So.
And some of this, see, if as long as we add everything allegedly at the end of it, then we're good.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, yeah, I've got some. So I'll start. I've got some fun facts about the war itself.
Okay.
And then I really dove in on George Washington because a lot of that.
Okay, so we got a lot of George Washington.
Yeah, a lot of it. So I tried to separate
a lot of good GW to holler at. Okay.
There's a lot of great stuff out there. So
yeah, dude, he's awesome.
So the Revolutionary War started in local taverns. Okay. So many revolutionary plots were organized in local bars and pubs. And still today, there's a bar in Boston, Massachusetts, called the Green Dragon Tavern, and it's nicknamed the headquarters of the Revolution. How cool is that?
Is it original? Like the original building?
Yeah, it's still
or
there.
As close as they can
I'm sure it's been renovated over time.
But you can actually go and...
Yeah, I looked it up on Google Maps. It's still there.
2026.
It's
I know
open.
where our next episode is going to be.
Live episode.
Episode 1776, Part 2.
Yeah, Green Dragon Tavern, live from Boston.
Dude,
that'd be awesome.
Sick.
So can you imagine, though, just like think back to that time. You know, there's just a bunch of guys sitting around their drinks, just chatting about... You know, man, these British are
I'm
really...
there right now, dude. I've got my eyes closed if you can't tell.
You know, like these redcoats are really just...
Losers.
Really putting their thumb down on us lately. These taxes are crazy. Like, these tax hikes are pretty messed up, am I right? And then before you know it, those conversations turn into a full-blown war.
Well, yeah, and you know, alcohol has a thing of doing to people where you could have a slight disturbance... And then you get 2 or 3 drinks in you and like, I might want to murder that guy for what he taxed me on. And now listen, I love freedom, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. However, I'm just saying, devil's advocate here. Wasn't the tax like
minuscule to what we pay now?
Very, very like small.
Yes, it was single digit percentage for sure. And now we
have
like
that's what I'm saying.
And now we're working with like a 25% income tax, and we're like, that's fine.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, dude. Is like, you know, you're in there in your rational mind, and you're like, this is kind of annoying. Yeah. And then you get a couple brewskis in you, and you're like, I might kill every redcoat I see from this moment on.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of how it started. Ben Franklin, I learned, helped create a secret committee, like a spy committee. Yeah. To help intercept British mail, decode messages, and even spread disinformation to the Redcoat front lines.
That's not the Minutemen, is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
I know the Minutemen were like a bunch of really cool dudes.
That could be.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he was a part of that. Basically, he would receive British mail, try to attempt to figure out what they're talking about, because, they speak a different kind of... They speak the King's English.
Oi, I got 3 shipments of tea coming into your
harbor. Franklin's like, what are they talking about, dude? No, so, a lot of it's probably written in code. So he's trying to figure out what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then he changes it before it's officially sent to the British Army to spread misinformation to them. So the British are getting these mails from who they think is like King Henry or whoever, and it's all been rewritten by Ben Franklin. So it's like,
dude, that is so funny.
Yeah, they probably. How many times do you think he just like sent them to Canada,
or said no you? Could you imagine him sitting by the candlelight, dude? He has to be giggling the entire time, being like,
just giddy, just cackling up.
They went north.
Yeah.
Keep going into the ice caps and keep going.
Yeah, once you see polar bears, continue north. I want you in the Northwest Passage by sundown.
They have camps in the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like sending them on like some snake oil run. Like, it'd be hilarious to think about. The U.S. had a navy, but it was primarily pirates, or what we would now consider to be privates, or pirates. I said private, so they're called privateers.
Yes.
I meant to say pirates. I said privates.
Yes.
We all know that's funny.
Yep.
The pirates, privateers, basically the Continental Congress issued allowances for private ships to attack British vessels.
Bunch of hired mercenaries, dude. They said, we have a bunch of criminals in our water. We might as well pay them and deal with these British nerds.
Yeah, because basically it's like, okay, we're 13 colonies of Great Britain, or what's now Great Britain, of Britain at the time. And so we don't have a navy. The British have a navy. So what do? Well, we got boats. Yeah. We got guys that know how to work the boats.
And we got guys that are mean.
Yeah. So they basically had these guys attack British vessels. And, again, they're called privateers, and they captured or sank hundreds of British ships.
Well, I guess if we sponsored them, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they probably also worked with, like, renewed vigor, you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine you're, like, hounding fishing boats for a couple of, like, doubloons?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, maybe we got enough to eat off of this boat. And then, like, this new group of guys is like, hey, we will give you money, and you get to keep pirating and taking all the plunder you want.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty, as a pirate or privateer.
Yeah, you want to make some money? British got some money.
Yeah, they've got some money.
We'll pay you, and you can keep what you find.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. That's got to be the best trade deal in all of trade deals right there. Yeah. They said, you get money and more money, and we get less British.
Yeah, which is what we want.
Yeah, dude.
In the end.
Every single day. Yeah. I say that when I wake up every morning. I go, Lord, if it be your will, make me less British, as if I was anywhere close.
I hope our international audience doesn't expand past Germany.
Oh, dude, yeah, no.
We'll get someone from GB tuning in, and they're like, dude, well, that was
Listen, we love you guys now. Yeah. Like, I'm all about love and peace.
We're cool.
Just stay over there.
Keep your tea out of my Boston Harbor. So do you have anything else about the Revolution, or I can get into George Washington?
Let me check. I think that was all I had on the Revolution. Yes, I have. Yes, that's all I got.
Okay. Do you want to kick us off on George Washington?
On George Washington? Okay.
I just happened to see your notes because you wrote in 36-point font, and I can see it from over here.
Don't bully me, dude. I don't have my glasses on, okay? I've got freedom vision right now.
I'm trying not to read
and
your
I'm not saying it's not free. I'm just saying it's not the best.
Okay, you kick us off on George Washington.
Okay.
I've got fun facts and legendary stories. So
all right.
We'll see
So,
what you got.
I mean, I don't know if you had this about his, allegedly, his wooden teeth.
Yes, I did have something.
Okay.
Tell me what you found.
I'll leave that alone. I didn't find anything. I was just going to riff about it.
Okay. Well, we can get to that then. Let's get into it right now. So, they were not wooden.
They weren't?
Spoiler alert. They were not actually wooden.
Aren't they in a museum somewhere?
Yes. Yeah, they are. I forget where they're at.
We got to get that as a prop.
Yeah,
that's disrespectful. I'm sorry. Bleep that out.
Yeah, let's get the real ones and just plant them right there. No, so they were not made of wood.
Okay.
More horrifyingly, they were said to be made. His dentures were said to be made
of British teeth.
that would go hard. Eventually, maybe they were and it could be because they were allegedly made of some combination of human teeth, horse teeth, hippopotamus ivory, and gold.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, I love freedom, but dude, when he opened his mouth, that had to have been horrifying, dude.
Yeah. So,
do we know why he lost all his teeth?
Well, I did look that up. He suffered from dental issues for basically his whole life.
Oh, okay.
And so it caused a lot of pain for him. And you know how mouth pain is. Like if your teeth hurt,
miserable.
Your whole body hurts, dude.
Yeah.
So it made public speaking very difficult for him. And he just pretty much lived in pain in his mouth for a lot of the time.
Ah, that sucks.
So, which I think will explain some
Which is
other
even
things.
more impressive as he's just out here balling.
Yeah.
Leading freedom wherever he goes.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry to spoil your wooden teeth, but they were not wooden.
No,
and
you're
it's
good.
worse than you thought.
Yeah, that's way worse than what I thought. I was going to make a joke about wooden teeth, and now I'm just like, ugh. I mean, imagine your commander-in-chief talking to you and just looking into that maw of insanity. That's like something we'd write in like a cheap B-movie horror film.
And I want to know how the horse teeth works. Because horses have huge teeth.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even make that work?
His mouth was just never permanently, like, never fully closed. Like, he just put it in the wrong side, and he's just...
If I'm him, I'm taking my dentures out all the time.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
for sure.
I can't.
Yeah. You just have it in your pocket when you need to talk.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What else you got?
Well, fun fact, did you know George Washington...
Try again. Sound it out.
Did you know that GW was an athlete?
Really?
Yeah, dude.
No, I did not.
Like a legit athlete that he would go out and he would like put people to shame just to be like, I got it. I'm that dog.
What kind of athlete are we talking about?
I'm talking physical prowess, dude.
Okay.
Strength.
Like wrestling?
Endurance. Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. But
do tell.
He made an effort to keep in good physical shape throughout most of his life. So he was a superior athlete and he knew it. Because he was a baller. He'd go out here and flex on him.
He does, and we'll get into some of this. He does seem like a cocky guy.
Oh yeah,
like he knows what he got.
But he was tactful, dude. Like
sure.
he would go in and he would be like, "I'm just letting you know."
Yeah, good dude.
Like I'm not gonna brag. I'm not gonna like bring you down, but I just need you to know who I am.
Yeah.
Like we didn't already know.
He's
a dude walks in and you hear 10 eagles scream. It's like, oh, if I didn't know who he was before, now I know. But he would. So, as remembered by American artist Charles Wilson Peale, a group of visitors to Mount Vernon in 1773 were pitching the bar. Do you know what pitching the bar is?
No.
That's slang for getting hammered. That's not actually what it is.
Okay.
It's not actually what it is. That was a joke. It was a game that involved seeing who could throw an iron bar the farthest.
How heavy was the iron bar?
It was assumedly, it could be anywhere from like 2 feet to 6 feet.
Okay.
But it was a rod of solid iron.
So we're talking like shot put,
yeah,
javelin
we're talking
toss,
but
that
we're
sort
talking
of stuff.
javelin, but if the javelin weighed like
as much
20
as a
to
shot
40
put.
pounds, yeah. Like we're talking insane.
Okay, and he was good at this.
So, and he was colonel at this time.
Okay.
So they were, throwing these bars across the yard, and suddenly the colonel appeared, and he requested to be shown the pegs that marked the bounds of their efforts. This is in quotes. So he basically rolled up and was like, hey, show me, hey guys, what are we doing?
Yeah, are we keeping score?
Yeah, we keeping score. What are we doing? So they showed him the field essentially. And so he smiles, and without pulling off his general's or his colonel's coat, so he's dressed like at arms.
Yeah.
And so without taking his coat off, he held his hand out for the missile. That's how they described it.
He said, hand it over.
His missile. That's kind of like a, leading into what's about to happen next.
Yeah.
So no sooner did the heavy iron bar feel the grasp of his mighty hand than it lost the power of gravitation. This is a quote, dude. This guy. In American speak, he grabbed that thing and he let it fly like the eagle.
Launched it.
And whizzed through the air, striking the ground far, very far, beyond our utmost limits, dude. Went out there and embarrassed these poor souls. because he had to let them know that, listen, yeah, I'm good at this war thing, but also, like, put me out there, coach.
Yeah, I'm good at everything else also.
I'm going to handle it, dude. We were indeed amazed as we stood around all stripped to the buff with shirt sleeves rolled up and having thought ourselves very clever fellows. So these guys are out here, you know, because we've seen things like this happen, you know, and you see a bunch of folks goofing around, but they're taking it, whatever it is, very seriously, and then some usually an old timer comes in and is just like, let me show you.
I'm gonna put y'all on notice
how it's done, dude. I remember I was in the gym one time, and this was back in like my competing days. Like when I was lifting really heavy, I was taking it real seriously. Mm-hmm. We were on the bench, and I had been hitting like 225 for singles. So I'm not talking reps, I'm talking singles for like a month. So I thought, oh, I hit 225, dude. I'm like the man. I'm like, here we go. Here we come, 315.
Yeah, you're all that.
Yeah, never got 315. Rest in peace. But so I'm warming up to hit this 225 for one, and I'm like having to like psych myself up, you know, like get, you know, all the things you do when you're trying to do like a 1 rep max and get all like gorillaed up. And I hit it, and I get up, and I'm hollering, and my boys are like, yeah, dude, way to go. And this old guy comes up to us, and he starts commenting on my form. Mm-hmm. And, you know, naturally, you're like, okay, dude, you know, I just did it. Like, what are you talking to me about?
Yeah, what's this geezer know
he
about
lays
lifting
down.
weight?
This guy has to be in his 60s, minimum. He lays down on the bench, and before anything happens, I watch this man put his hands on the bar, and I went, oh, I'm about to
hear clink, clink.
Ooh, we should leave. Because he unracked that bar, and you can tell, dude, when somebody puts the weight in their hands, you just tell. You know what I mean?
Like he's not struggling at all.
He unracked it, and I went, oh, he's done this more than once. He then proceeded to bust out 12 reps while telling me the tweaks in the form that he think would help me lift the weight. So, like literally, he's just, so you see how my elbows are pretty straight in line with the bar? And I'm just sitting there like,
literally dog walking you.
Dog walk me like I'm a French poodle, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
George Washington style.
That's what this guy did.
Yeah.
GW.
Yeah.
So GW walked in, and then while the colonel on retiring pleasantly observed, when you beat my pitch, young gentleman, I'll try again, and walked off. What a baller.
That
dude.
Is awesome.
That guy is GW. G stands for two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And without that spirit in him, I don't know that we win the revolution.
Oh, no, dude.
Like, he needed to be in charge.
That
like
guy,
a guy like that.
He surveyed every battlefield and was like, watch this.
Yeah. He's like, I'm only letting these fools do it because I get a little winded if I try to defeat the British Army by myself.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He said it'll go by faster if you boys help me out.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just tell you what to do. I'll observe from up here.
Oh, man.
So, and he did get in the mix of things quite a bit.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And we're going to get into a little bit of that. So, a couple fun facts about our boy George. He loved dogs, and he and I have that in common.
As any freedom-loving American does.
Yes. So, there's a story that I read. During a battle against the British Army, an enemy British general's dog wandered into George Washington's camp. And he knew this because he checked the tags, and the tags stated that they belonged to the enemy general.
He couldn't read the tags. It was just that British scribble. Like, the dog walked into the camp, and he knelt down to the dog, and he went, oh, he smells like tea.
Yeah.
That's how he found out.
So Washington finds out, okay, this is my enemy's dog. Like, my equal on the other side. This is his dog.
Yeah.
He cleaned and fed the dog and then returned it under a flag of truce with a polite note that said, I am returning this dog, which is, the tag says it's for the British general, signed, your loving American, George Washington, or whatever it said.
So he was a good dude.
He was a good dude.
He was a good man.
He was. And we already got into the wooden teeth not being wooden, so I'll skip that one.
Dude, that's awesome. Can we just park and say, like, think about how hard it is to be a good person in a bad situation?
Yeah.
Because what situation that you can think of would give more leeway to being a bad person than war?
Yeah.
That is the situation where almost everyone agrees to certain lines of that you wouldn't cross otherwise.
Right.
You know, murder.
Yeah.
Aggressive murder.
Yeah.
Brutal murder. Like war changes people's perception of other people and the rules, so to speak, because in war, you know, we have all these fancy rules now, but back then it was like, dude, there weren't rules.
Well, war is brutality.
Yeah.
Like, think about if that dog ended up at anyone else's doorstep, it might have been a goner.
Free meal.
You know? Yeah, that, or you send it back in pieces.
Yeah.
Just to put the general on notice.
Yeah.
Sorry for the graphic image, but
Yeah.
That, you know, George Washington really was. I mean, he's a great leader, legendary in a lot of ways, which I'm going to share some of that in a minute, but very just seemingly good man.
I love the thought of him just being like, "What's up, good boy?" and treating that dog nice.
Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Come here, boy.
And then,
sorry, oi, boy, get over here.
And then when they had that truce, that dog defecting, coming back, dude. That
Carrying
dog goes
an
over
American
and goes,
flag in its mouth.
Yeah, dude, and it goes, the tea tastes like crap. Everybody smells bad. I'm going over to the other side, dude.
Yeah, the dog switches teams. Yeah. So the legends surrounding George Washington are also amazing. So have you heard, I want to get into the big one first. Have you heard about the legend of divine protection?
No.
Okay. So despite constantly placing himself in harm's way, George Washington was never wounded in battle.
Wait, what? He's never been wounded?
In battle.
In battle.
Allegedly.
Like he's never been shot or stabbed.
Right.
Or any. That's crazy.
And for that time, that's unheard of. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Because he
was in the thick of it.
Yeah, for like 20 years or more.
Yeah.
Like, he was never wounded in battle despite constantly placing himself in harm's way. And it's not like he was just like hanging out in the back, you know, sending all his peons to do the dirty work. Like, he was in the middle of it a lot.
Yeah.
And he never got... So, I'm going to butcher this name, but the Battle of Monongahela, I don't know if I'm saying that right, during the French and Indian War, Washington had 2 horses shot out from under him and 4 bullet holes in his coat. And yet he was completely uninjured. Many began to believe, even back at that time, that he was divinely protected. So Native American warriors reportedly remarked that he was supernaturally protected, claiming that they had him in their sights, tried to shoot him, but could not hit him. And these were like expert marksmen, and they couldn't hit him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, even more crazy, 15 years later, the chief of that native tribe that fought in that battle sought out George Washington. 15 years later. Because he wanted to tell George Washington to his face that he believed the Great Spirit protects that man and guides his destinies. That was a quote. The Great Spirit protects that man and guides his destinies.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So later, at the Battle of Princeton, George Washington led a charge on horseback, riding between American and British lines of fire. So the Americans and the British are shooting at each other, and George Washington's just like in the middle. Bullets flying past his,
That's insane.
Fluffy white hair.
Unbelievable.
His aides reportedly covered their eyes, believing he was about to be shot.
Oh, no.
But he was not. The Siege of Yorktown. Washington stood on top of a trench that was under British cannon fire, observing the assault, while his officers begged him to move. Can you imagine, George? Just pause for a second. Like, George, please stop. Like, we need you. Please stop doing stuff like this.
Yeah, you're insane, General. But what I think of is, what that reminds me of is that scene from the Pirates movie where the guy is going down with the ship and the ship's exploding all around him, but he's not getting, like, towards the end he dies. Yeah. But that's what I imagine in my head, where he's like, I gotta go do everything, dude. And he's just walking through all this gunfire.
So he keeps putting himself in harm's way, but he never gets hurt. And you know what I think? I think his teeth hurt so bad.
That he didn't feel anything.
He was like,
else.
dude, if I die, that'll be a relief.
He's like, thank goodness.
He's like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do my best. I'm not trying to die out here, but if I did, dude, at least my mouth won't hurt no more. Like, that's how bad mouth pain is.
Or he got hurt and didn't notice it because of the mouth pain. Like, maybe he took a stray one to the calf, or like got nicked in the arm or something, and he didn't notice because he's like,
because his golden horse tooth was loose.
Dude, all those bullets flying by, and he's just I need a new set, dude. This sucks.
Yeah. Well, and the holes in his coat, there were several stories about that. So on different occasions where like he's getting close to getting shot, but he's just not getting shot.
Yeah.
So in 20 plus years of combat, he was never wounded in battle, which, like I said, that's just unbelievable for that time. Even today, like, but Washington frequently referenced providence in his writings and speeches, but he did not claim to be divinely chosen. He often spoke of the hand of providence guiding the revolution. So he believed that he was just riding this wave, and he's like,
God bless America.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of stories like that, and it's fascinating. More legend about George Washington, and this is true, like verified true. A lot of that I just said was more legendary. Like those were direct quotes, but you know, obviously, how can you prove divine protection? But these were like, well, let me just tell you. So after the war, some officers suggested making Washington King of America, and he refused outright.
Good.
Reinforcing the young nation's commitment to democracy. He's like, dude, have you guys not been paying attention?
We just figured this out, dude.
Like, we're fighting against the king right now. Why would I want to be king?
Yeah, dude.
Like, we're just going to be doing the same thing
again. He was
again.
that good. See, when that's all you know is kings, you're like, well, if I have to pick a king, I want that guy.
Yeah. But he's like, no. You guys are not thinking about this at all.
Yeah.
We don't need a king.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah. So after leading the Continental Army to victory, he resigned his commission instead of seizing power. Later, after 2 presidential terms, he refused a third, setting the Democratic precedent that we still acknowledge today. So they were like, okay, we're not going to make you king, wink, wink, but as president, we'd like for you to be president for life. And he's like, no.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm
4
done.
years, minimum.
Well, he did 2 terms, so I guess 8 years. But so this was later signed into law as the 22nd Amendment.
Nice.
So last couple things here. So about that 2 terms thing, when he refused a third term and said, I'm done, it's time for someone else. Reportedly, King George III heard about this, that Washington was set to resign after 2 terms, and he said, quote, if he does that, he will be the greatest man in the world.
Might be,
End quote.
He might be the greatest man in the world.
Yeah. So, and then finally, I thought this was just like a nice kind of bow tie on the end of this, but at his 1784 farewell party after the war, he embraced each of his officers one by one and said in private to each of them, quote, with a full heart of love and gratitude, I now take leave of you. Individually to each of his officers.
You can't see the tears right now.
Yeah.
But they're flowing, dude.
It's a beautiful story.
They're flowing.
It's a beautiful story.
Well, hey, that was some great facts.
Yeah.
But let's go to commercial real quick.
Yeah.
And cut real quick and just commercial. We're back.
All right. Welcome back from whatever we just showed you.
Yeah.
I'm sure Patrick will come up with something.
It may just be a blank cut.
Just a hard cut. And now we're back.
Who knows?
All right.
It's gonna be 40 minutes of Eagles.
Yeah. So that the fact I shared about George Washington embracing each of his officers and saying that sweet thing really struck Patrick's chord, and we took a quick cry break.
Yeah, dude.
So it was a beautiful story.
My eyes are really red.
Yeah. So anyway, in the spirit of the 4th of July, we thought it would be fun to see if we could pass the United States Citizenship test. Obviously, we don't have time to go through the whole thing today, so we cherry-picked a couple questions to ask each other just to see if we could get them right. And if we don't,
this is going to make this whole episode look real dumb if we look real stupid.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about it. I'm not going to lie. Because some of this stuff I haven't heard since
hard,
like
dude.
Civics class in high school, and it's like this is just not. It's just not information that affects my life right now.
Yeah.
So it's like a use it or lose it situation. So we apologize in advance to the U.S. government if we get all these questions
Please don't
wrong.
Revoke our citizenship.
Yeah, please don't deport us.
Please let us stay.
I promise we were born here. And anyway, do you want to go first?
Yeah, dude, I can go first.
Okay.
No, hold on. I have more questions than you do, so you should go first, just in case we have an overlapping one.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. So first question. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
Well, it was a group of dudes, right?
Yeah, but who wrote it?
Who wrote it?
Yeah.
Did Thomas Jefferson write it?
Thomas Jefferson did write it.
Yeah.
Yes. So
because he was the one who was there writing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew,
a lot of guys signed it.
I'm so glad I didn't miss the first one. Oh.
And you know what's funny? They almost couldn't get George Washington to come sign it.
Yeah.
Because he was like,
this is dumb.
He's like, I'm not getting involved in this. And then they tricked him into coming because they said your friends will be there. And he was like, all right, I'll come. And then while they were there, they break out the Declaration of Independence and they're like, all right, sign here.
That's how people get me to go to anything, dude.
Yeah, they're like, hey, will you come to this government function? He's like, nah. He's like, your buddies will be there. He's like, all right.
Yeah, dude,
I'll be there.
There's like 4 names, including yours, where if somebody goes, hey, he'll be there, I'll be like, all right, I'll go check it out for a little bit.
Do you want to go back and forth, or do you want me to ask another one?
We can go back and forth.
All right, go for it.
How many amendments does the Constitution have?
Oh, currently?
Yeah.
27? 28?
I think you're close. The problem is, forgot to write down the answer.
No. Fact checkers beware.
So the answer is going to be up on the screen, and I'm just going to say you were right.
Amendments are in the U.S. Constitution.
Oh, I hope that isn't.
Oh, it's not going to read it. The Constitution has 27 amendments.
Way to go, dude.
I nailed it. First try.
Killed it, dude.
All right.
Great job.
Okay.
I'm so glad you had your watch on you.
Okay. So, as we discussed earlier, there were 13 original colonies. Can you name 3? That's the question on the citizenship test.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you.
That's hard, dude.
I wanted to ask you to name them all. But the citizenship test requires you to name 3.
Was Maryland really a colony?
Yes.
Okay, that's one. Was Virginia a colony?
Yes. Oh. One more.
Was Rhode Island a colony?
Yes.
Let's go, dude.
Can you keep going? You got 3.
No, I can't.
So they were New Hampshire.
Oh, dang it.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina.
I was going to say the Carolinas.
And Georgia.
Dude. Oh, dude.
Okay.
If you I should have just went out on it.
I'll be honest. If you asked me that question, I don't think I would have got the Carolinas or Georgia.
I can't believe I forgot Jersey and New York.
Well, some of it I'm like, was it named that back then?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know? All right, hit me.
Okay. What U.S. territory did the U.S. buy from France?
I know this one because I lived there.
Oh.
The Louisiana Purchase.
Okay, great job.
Yeah, that's where Nebraska is.
Nice.
Nebraska was part of the Louisiana Purchase.
Great job.
So, thankfully, you asked me a question about my entire childhood. That was really important information for me back then.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay. All right, you got another one?
Okay. What is the name of the national anthem? For the listeners, Patrick is wearing the American flag on every part of his body. He's got a cowboy hat with stars and stripes and a bald eagle on it. We're sitting in front of an American flag. Can you name this? I almost said it. Can you name
Star Spangled Banner?
The Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah.
Good job.
Now listen, I want to just clarify that as funny as that bit was, it took me almost the length of that entire bit to remember what it was called.
Okay, bonus real quick.
Okay.
Who made the United States flag? Who's credited with creating the flag?
Freedom Betsy, dude. I don't remember her name.
Okay,
I don't remember
Betsy
her name.
Ross.
Wait, whoa.
Yeah.
That was a guess.
I
did not know that her name was Betsy Ross.
Yeah, Betsy Ross.
I just threw Betsy out there.
Well, you nailed it. It's in your blood, dude.
All right. Yeah, it is, dude.
Blood runs red.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Red, white, and blue. All right, hit me.
All right, I'm just going to rapid fire the rest of these.
Okay.
The House of Representatives has how many voting members?
Oh, gosh.
I'll spoiler, it's a lot.
It's a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. 400.
You were close, dude.
Was I?
435.
Okay, nice.
You were close.
Yeah, it's been so long since my government class.
And then the last one I have for this one is, what is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? There's 2.
Ask that again.
What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens?
That feels so broad. I don't even know where to begin.
Think of things that a United States citizen might be required to serve in some capacity.
Serve in the military?
No.
Vote.
Yes.
Okay.
The answers were serve as jury or vote in a federal election.
Okay.
Those are two things that are responsibilities that are only for the United States.
My mind immediately went to like, make sure your driver's license is up to date. I don't know. Get your star ID. Yeah, that's all I've heard about lately.
That's awesome.
I was like, I know this isn't it, but I'm like, that's all I can think about is like making sure your papers are up to date.
Do we have time for the last bit?
Yeah.
What time we got?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, we're good? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this next one is history according to us.
Okay.
And again, you want to talk about fact checkers beware. I picked what I wanted to ask you and didn't do any research on whether or not you might be right or wrong.
Okay.
So what started the Battle of Lexington, which ultimately started the Revolutionary War?
Okay. So we know how Kentucky is. I honestly don't. Wait, this is the one that started the Revolutionary War?
Yes.
Okay,
it
so
is
was
credited
this,
with...
this where the shot heard around the world happened?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the battle ensuing.
Okay, got it. So...
so you know some of it.
Yeah, I remember some of this just from my very, very recent research. Okay, so the Battle of Lexington started when some redcoats upset some
good old
Kentucky boys. And I assume this was Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah. Dude, they're so aggressive now.
That didn't apparently exist back then because I just named the 13 colonies and Kentucky wasn't one of them. So it's probably a different Lexington.
Oh.
Who cares? Yeah. Who really knows?
Yeah.
You know? So this is history according to me. So yes. it was actually in Lexington, Kentucky. You know why they're called the Wildcats?
Yeah.
Because of this
story right here.
Because of this battle.
Okay.
So what happened is some redcoats were trying to tax the local Kentuckians for wildcat pelts. And they had enough already with the Stamp Act. They'd had enough already with the tea tax. They're like, dude, my whole life is built on selling these wildcat pelts. You're not going to tax me on this. And then bang, the shot heard around the world. And that's what happened in Lexington.
That's a great story, and as far as my knowledge is concerned, that's what happened because I didn't bother to write down what the actual story was.
Ladies and gentlemen, consult your local history teacher for the real story.
Yeah, we're listen. You know, ultimately, freedom rings regardless of whether we're right or wrong.
So to close this out, why don't you tell me what happened in the events leading up to the Boston Tea Party?
Oh, okay. So, what led up to the Boston Tea Party is...
Just tell me about the Boston Tea Party.
So, amidst the conversations of taxes and we're not going to pay, those things. We know that happened, but what led up to it was what you don't know is the last 5 shipments of tea that this colony had gotten were bad. Not only was it the taxes, the tea was objectively bad. So imagine.
You know why it was bad? Because it was hot.
It's true.
You know the British like hot tea.
Yes.
It's not how we do things here.
So imagine, if you will, you're sitting in the tavern. You're kind of homesick. You know, you're like, man, I miss my auntie's gross sausage and bean tea, English breakfast tea or whatever, whatever those nerds drink. Listen, I love the UK. Anyways, really alienating some of our audience here. So they were like, man, I miss my great mama's tea. And then you get news of this taxation, right? And you're mad. You're in the tavern, you're drinking, and you're getting a little flustered, a little upset. And then finally you hear word that the tea arrives. And you're like, at least something good. At least we got some tea. And it's gross. It has seawater in it. It tastes like salt.
It's about to.
It tastes like, it tastes like fish. They stored them in the same areas that they stored the food and other things to survive that long journey. And how many shipments of bad tea could you actually take on top of being taxed for the tea that you don't want? How long do you last in that?
You don't.
You don't. Exactly.
You don't put up with it.
But they put up with at least 5. I think in the time that all this happened, I think it was at least 5 of bare minimum.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. And then they threw it in the harbor.
And then finally they said, it tastes like the harbor. We might as well throw it in the harbor.
And the British overreacted, let's be honest.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We just said we don't want your dumb tea. But to them, to the true British, they were like, what do you mean you throw the tea in the water?
We're like, we do things differently over here. We put a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah.
And we make it cold.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called sweet tea. And they're like, sweet tea, mate.
Sweet tea?
I can't.
What do you
I don't
mean?
do accents.
It doesn't taste like beans and toast. I don't want it. And you do it in the water.
Okay, we should stop. Well, that was history according to us. If we haven't proven it yet, we know nothing about anything. But that's good, dumb fun.
Dude.
So thank you all.
Happy 4th of July.
Yes, happy 4th of July. When this comes out,
happy Independence Day.
We're just getting through 4th of July weekend, and everything is feeling good.
Oh, man.
And I pray everybody's safe. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July weekend celebrating the freedom
be
of
good
America.
Out there.
Go listen to the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, dude.
Which is what it's called.
Yeah. You got anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I think we better wrap up. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, X, Twitter/X, TikTok, all that stuff, at Good Dumb Fun. You can reach us by email at gooddumbfunshow@gmail.com.
Please email us. Whether it's a funny story, a question, you want to rag on us, Skip?
Yeah. A comment about something we said.
Anything. Please
fact
email
checks.
us because we would love, that's our way to engage.
Yeah, we will welcome your fact checks,
you guys.
especially after this. But we'd love to hear from you. Your comment may be read on the show. So please write in. We also look for comments on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff, or our personal cell phones. So if you know us, just shoot us a text, but preferably the email, gooddumbfunshow@gmail.com. Like and subscribe, all that stuff.
Like and subscribe, ring the bell, whatever.
I guess we have to say
you
that.
say.
Everybody else says it. So
follow us where you get your podcast.
I think we have to say it.
All that stuff.
Yeah, you can find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube,
wherever ultimately it doesn't matter because freedom's going to ring regardless.
And you're listening right now, so you found us somehow. So thank you for that.
God bless America.
God bless America. Thank you, everybody. I've been Josh.
And I've been Patrick.
And we have been
the Good Dumb Fun Show. All right, man.
All right.
That was so much fun. God bless America, dude.